Hey everybody, welcome to the Face-to-Face Ministries podcast, the #1 resource for learning what it means to have a healed heart, connect more deeply with Jesus, and experience true and lasting transformation in your life. I'm one of your hosts, Kathy Little.
And I'm your other host, Melinda Wilson. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss the fresh content we're continuing to release. And while you're at it, we greatly appreciate your help in getting the word out by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving a quick review. You can also keep up with us by following our social media by searching face-to-faceministries.org on Facebook. That's no spaces, no numbers, and no caps. And on Instagram at face-to-face-min, and that's all one word.
We want to invite you to join us in our free Face-to-Face Heart Healing Network and in our premium network. Be part of a growing community of people just like you who are wanting to dive deeper into what it means to access the full benefits package of the cross and learning how to help others do the same.
Our team also offers one-on-one ministry sessions that can be done virtually, and you can also learn how to help others connect with Jesus and find healing in their lives through training we offer in the ministry model we use. And for more information about all of the resources, trainings, and events that we offer, visit face-to-faceministries.org. And while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter.
All right, so let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back.
Or welcome if you're listening for the first time.
Yes,
if you're
absolutely.
listening for the first time, you're jumping in on episode 97, which is totally fine. And you can really jump around in this podcast. Some of them do have numerical order, like if it's part 1 and part 2. But this one today, we're glad you're listening.
Yes. And we did take a couple of weeks off. We're trying to recover and take care of ourselves like we preach. We're going to practice that, taking care of us for a little bit. So we took a couple of weeks off, but this one was really worth the wait. But before we get into our guests, Melinda's going to tell you about 2 events that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. If you're listening to this in real time, this is the middle of April, and so of 2021, actually. So you may be listening in the future, but if you are listening in real time, we've got a couple of really great trainings coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And I love that people have actually come to trainings because they've heard about this on the podcast, or some of you don't know, but we do training in the Emmanuel Approach. We are endorsed by Dr. Carl Lehman, the founder and creator of the Emmanuel Approach. And so we are doing a level 1, that's just a foundation, on April 23rd and 24th in Littleton, Colorado. That's right outside of Denver. It's basically Denver, so you'd fly into Denver. And you can find out more about that on our website at face-to-faceministries.org/training. And it will take you to a link where you can register. And also, and that'll be the basic foundation. This is for everybody, anyone who wants a closer relationship with Jesus, deeper intimacy. I'm telling you, it is life-changing. And the other one we're doing is the weekend immediately following in Medford, Oregon, April 30th through May 2nd. That's a Friday to a Sunday, and the Sunday is actually optional. We're really excited to offer a practicum where everything you're learning from the Friday and Saturday, you get to put into practice all day. We're taking it up a notch, so this is beyond level 1. And so if you've done a level 1, come. If you haven't done a level 1, come. This is going to be fantastic training. Medford, Oregon, April 30th through the 2nd. Again, both of these, find out more information on face-to-faceministries.org/training, and we'll take you to the link where you can register. We can't wait to see you there.
Yes, this is true. It's very exciting that we've been able to do some in-person trainings, and those are increasing. And we're very excited to come to your area. If you want to invite us, you can also go to that training page, and there's a link there where you can request us to come to your area to provide some training. But we were actually in Medford, Oregon not too long ago to do a Foundations 1 training there. We're going back at their request. But we actually interviewed a couple of ladies who do life together as best friends like Melinda and I do, and they also run a business together. They run a gym for ladies, but this is not your typical gym. These ladies go after healing by releasing trauma from the body and moving our bodies and dealing with the physical temple of the Holy Spirit that we walk around in as human beings. And this interview was fantastic. These ladies are awesome.
They're both incredibly gifted, powerful women that you will love to hear from. And I think that if we keep talking, we're going to give it all away, but you guys just need to listen to this. And I'm telling you one thing too. I think this was one of the only interviews, and of course doing it in person, that was so powerful rather than just on Zoom. I was brought to tears a couple times, and it was very powerful, resonated with me, and it was a gift to actually see and meet them in person.
Yes, we love them. This is Lou Crenshaw and Shantell Dayton, and they are the co-owners and operators of Drop Gym in Medford, Oregon. You're going to love them.
Well, once again, we are around a table, which is really fun because I love the informal conversations that happen around. It's so much better in person too because we're actually sitting in person. We're filming this.
Thank you, God.
I know. So true. We're filming this, and we haven't done that for the past 2 seasons. All of season 1 was on film, and we thought, well, we're going to be in person. Let's capture this. But Melinda, you actually have experienced what these ladies do firsthand, and so I'm going to let you introduce them, and let's just kind of set up the stage here.
Well, no, we're actually really at an amazing place called Drop Gym with some remarkable ladies, Lou and Shantell, who are business partners and best friends. I'm going to let you guys talk about this, but I do have to say I got up this morning. Nothing gets me up before 7 except an opportunity to punch and kick. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But y'all, come on, admit it. When we get talking with this, everyone wants to punch something.
Yes.
So thank you.
That's true.
I'm going to have affirmation and validation today by more than just myself. You're right, Melinda, and I'm having 2 other people. But so excited to talk to you 2 ladies. And so we're at Drop Gym. We're at the gym that you guys run together. So tell us more about yourselves and how this came. Tell us who you each are and then how you came together to run this, what we're doing.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh my gosh. Go ahead. You go first.
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, as you said, Lou and I are best friends. And it started really with in a gym atmosphere where we both were moving our bodies and we kind of crossed paths, and at that time I was teaching martial arts. So I'm a lifelong martial artist. From the time that I was 8 years old until I was 30, I was training, competing, teaching, coaching, and
she always leaves this out, you guys. She's a 6-degree black belt.
Okay.
I'm going to just back away. In other words, don't make her angry.
Oh yeah, right. No, she wouldn't even do anything even if you did.
You need to actually see what she looks like because you wouldn't believe that she could. I know, but for those who aren't seeing it, you'd be like, no.
Yeah, you're totally.
She looks like you should be a nurse, or working with senior citizens going, it's okay, honey. But you could probably do that too.
Probably.
Well, I remember one of the first times we met, she was like, oh yeah, I teach kids karate. And then a couple weeks later, she got some award, and at the gym that she was coming into, I was working there, and they were like, well, can you put together a little thing about the award that she got? And so I was like, sure. I'm like, so what was this award, you got that you do? And then she told me, and I was like, oh, you're you don't just teach kids karate, you're legit and lethal. For real.
It
but
really
she doesn't
has.
ever say it. She doesn't. So then I always feel it. I'm like, whoa. Mm-hmm. She's a 6-degree black belt, everyone.
Yes.
Can you not to be afraid, but just
what is it? You just get 6 black belts, then they all pile up on each other, up to your chest.
Could you imagine?
I mean, tell us about what that means to those of us who are total ignorant.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So all styles are different. So different styles of martial arts. The ranking system and the time in between each rank is different. The requirements are different. In my system, I got my black belt in Chunkuto, so it's the Chuck Norris system, because before he was Walker, Texas Ranger, and all the things that he was in all the movies, he was an exceptional martial artist. And he would beat people all the time in tournaments, and so he had his own style, so he decided to create his own system. And then there's the Chuck Norris system, Chung Kuk Do, which is what I got my black belt in. So it took me about 5 years to get my black belt. And then between my first degree and second degree black belt, there was 2 years. And then between my second degree and my third degree, there were 3 years. Between third and fourth, 4 years. Between fourth and fifth, they changed the requirement, and then it was only 4 years. Only 4 years.
You're scaring me a little bit.
It's like becoming a doctor. It's worse than med school, man.
It's like,
so she's 96, and I know she looks 30, but it's the karate.
Yeah. So it's definitely it's a lifelong study. It's a discipline. It's a discipline, and it's like you just marinate is really what ends up happening. And the longer you're in it, the more rich you become, the more tender you become, the more wise you become. It's when you are training and you become a black belt, you're like, surely there's nothing else left, you know? And because between all those years, it's just a little stripe around the tip of that belt. And so those that want the big color change and, you know, something that was a massive shift in like the color of their uniform changes, it's the 2 years is one stripe on the belt. The 3 years is another stripe on the belt. And so it's so different than most things. But a lot of people will stop then because the shiny is gone. And now it's just marinating. It's just becoming more tender and just more, it's almost as if you know that there's a violence in martial arts. There is you use your body as a weapon. And so, but once you get to that point of 6th degree black belt, there's a confidence that you have, a knowing that you have in your person where there's no need to prove anything. There's no need to prove to myself or to others. There's just a knowing. And so it becomes less of jump spinning heel kicks and all the fancy stuff that you see in the movies, and it comes from looking out the window and seeing somebody that you don't know there and going out the back door instead. It's like not needing to go out and test my skill, not needing to go out and prove myself. It's just knowing.
All right, so obviously what we're doing is an internal heart healing thing and wholeness, but we want it to be an integrated thing. And we're interviewing all these people that are talking about different inner healing models and how to connect with Jesus and how to be the fullness of who your real self is. And I'm sitting here listening to you talk about your journey in martial arts, and I'm thinking spiritual connotation to that. Like, seriously.
Really?
So, because that's kind of, you guys are blending in, incorporating your body in your healing journey, and through using and moving your body and working out things that may be stuck through a physical manifestation here in the gym, people are getting set free. Women in particular, you guys are ministering to women, and they're being set free from that external release of because it's unlocking something. So talk about like what you're doing in the physical context that's bringing healing to the hearts of women.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
There's so much.
I know. It's a lot unpacked there.
Yeah. It is, but it's not, because sometimes it's like, well, how did you figure out to do that? And you're like, I have no idea. Like the other day, I was legitimately standing in front of a client and she was talking to me about something. And in my mind's eye, I saw her do something. And I heard her say something. And so I was like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do today. And so we went and did the thing, and it was absolutely crazy and it was amazing. And then I had another lady it had to do with sexual trauma, and I watched her have a big old sandbag on her chest and for her to say, get the off me. And I watched her do it, where it was like this big sandbag on her chest, and I was like, she's always down for stuff, you know, like, hey, because a lot of the times we can talk about our trauma, we can pray about our trauma, which are never bad things. But it's that integration of the body and being able to, so often the heart and the mind have already dealt with it, but the body hasn't. The body hasn't let it go. The body hasn't processed it. So then it still triggers when you're like, but wait a second, I've already dealt with this. And so just doing it and then being able to take it to where I came into class this morning and I was like, hey girls, this is what we're going to do. And we literally did the movement in a workout. But then let all of them know, hey, if you do this, something might come up here's what might come up, here's what might happen, and then you just watch like 5 ladies get free on the floor in the middle of their workouts, and then they sit around, they talk to each other, they're crying a little bit, they're like processing what's happening, and then they leave and they're going, oh, okay, that wasn't really that complicated, right? Because I've already talked about it, my heart's already dealt with it, I'm doing it, but then my body physically, you know, in this case where there is, you know, whether it's molestation or rape, any sort of like sexual violence or anything of that sort, it was literally just like laying with a, you know, 200-pound sandbag on your body and just pushing it off and knowing like, oh, I wish I would have done that then, but instead I froze. And so then the body continues to be frozen, and then you continue to, not always, but I can still associate as I'm a victim of this, and then we still act like, our bodies still act like we're victims of that, or something happens, and then something triggers in us, and then we're, you know, wondering what that is, but then being able to just take and practically use the body. And so that's what we do in a lot of different situations. Sometimes it's a great workout, and sometimes it's doing something that you didn't know that you can do. Sometimes it's taking a baseball bat to something because you just actually need to allow yourself to get really angry because you've never found the time and the space for it, or permission to do it, or being loud and aggressive was, you know, always something that your parent did to you, and you never want to be like them. So then you're never anybody that gets mad, and you're like, ooh, but there's, you know, the more that I disconnect from my own anger, the more I disconnect from my own identity. Because it's one of those, it is one of those things, whether it, you know, whether it be anger, whether it be sorrow, whether it be sadness, whatever's on the other side of what that is. And so we've just taken all the things that we've known and all the things that we've done in all the years that we've been doing our own things individually, and then, you know, smashing things up together and just saying like, oh, I wonder if this would work. And then obviously evolving over the last 5 years of what we're doing, and have really taken an upgraded level of healing probably in the last like 3 years.
I feel like you touched on something, Lou, that is, we could unpack for days about anger, and especially women, Christian women, who primarily, our audience is probably a majority of Christian women. Of course, we have some men. Not ever given permission, because you're saying loud and aggressive, and I'm like, that's kind of me. Loud and big, and if that's not so it's not even something that someone's done to you. It's maybe I didn't have that. I believe I'm in the minority of not having been the victim of sexual assault, because the more people I meet, that seems to be the majority. But not being allowed to be the big, and if you do get angry, in your anger don't sin, or be angry, but and if you think about scripturally, it doesn't say don't be angry, and we've taken it as don't be angry because that'll lead to sin.
No, it says in it don't sin, and then it also says do not let the sun go down on it. So we just pretend like we're not angry, but then you're like, you've let 1,000 sunsets go down on this one thing. You know, like how many suns have gone down since you were 5? Right?
Why do you think it's been such a in your y'all's estimation, why do you think anger especially has been something that especially Christian women are not allowed to express, or if we do, it's like, oh, she's either demonized, or she needs help, she needs therapy, she's a real bitch. Yes. Let's just put it that real. Yeah.
I feel like there's a, you know, women in general, so Christian or not, I feel like women in general, when we see them come in, they struggle with being angry. They struggle with connecting to it, because when you really look at it raw and fully, when you feel it, it looks out of control. It looks destructive. It looks violent. And so that doesn't look feminine. It doesn't look like a woman. Like the thought, or culturally, like what we are told a woman looks like. You know, the man gets angry, the man breaks things, he's the one that goes out to war and fights, and the woman stays in, she's quiet, she has nothing, she needs to separate herself from anything that she can get angry from and just do these things. And so I feel like it's a place that not very many people, women, have been, And so it's very foreign. And so when something is foreign and they're afraid of it, it must not be good. You know, it must not be healthy. And when you look at it, even Lou was even saying, like, when you're 5 years old, or even when you're a child, you're not going to squelch that being angry. You kind of flip out, you freak out, you yell, you scream, you stomp, you go into your room, you kick your feet, right? So there is a physical expression of frustration. And then we're told, like, stop acting this way, stop doing this, control yourself. Yeah, don't be disrespectful. And there is a line, obviously, with children where they are being disrespectful, but yet we forget that we carry that through into our adult years. And then even newly, like, I am new, like, when I say new, like 6 years new to Jesus. And I never even, like, growing up, I, like, knew of him, but I didn't know him. And so I grew up with parents who were angry, and I just didn't want to be like them. And so I separated myself from that and never knew that there was anything that could be stored or caught in my body where I was, like, keeping it and where it would show up, until we started really looking at the body. And then I've got a shoulder that looks like I'm on the phone all the time, and my lower back is hurting. So I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Like, what's being stored in my structure? And the more I allowed myself to express and get angry and hit things and really connect to it, not pretending, but acknowledging, I'm actually really angry about this. I'm frustrated. And then through that expression, then I grieve. And grieving is extremely important as well. And whether it be through an expectation of what I thought who I was going to be, or who my parents were going to be, or what life was going to be like, we have these expectations, and then we're disappointed, and then we just, like, slowly become less and less connected to ourselves and our emotion, when really we need to look at it and say, like, okay, where is there a safe place? Because there really, as adult women, there isn't a safe place to go and just, like, express yourself. You feel ridiculous, you feel too emotional, you feel all the things that too much or not enough, right? On one side or the other. But in here, we have baseball bats. We have things where it's like, you're having a bad day after the workout, go and release it. And they know that they can. And that's incredible. And we have women who've been struggling with back pain for years and years and years, and they hit something and they yell, and they actually make a connection to their anger, and then it's gone.
Because then you just get it, right? You end up, because we pretend, like, you know, we don't pretend. We don't acknowledge that the fact of you just not feeling something doesn't mean you didn't feel it.
Come on.
You just decided, or you, like, I rebuke that in Jesus' name. You're like, I mean, sure, we can leave things at the cross, but you actually never truly dealt with it. So you're like, I rebuke fear. And you're like, but you actually never, you didn't engage with what that truly was, right? Or like, I rebuke anger. And you're like, well, but what happened that you...
What's at the root of it?
Yeah, what is that? Is it disappointment? Is it injustice? You know? And I remember telling Shantell a few years ago, and I'd never thought about it this way, but I think it's really important, because I think if we don't acknowledge anger and, like, indignation and disappointment, we never will pray radical prayers. We won't pray prayers that change the atmosphere. We won't pray prayers that pull on heaven, because we're like, it's not really that big of a deal. And so we don't ever feel like that, right? So we never, like, conjure this place of, like, deep emotion where, like, even yesterday we were sitting in here and we were praying. We have every Thursday, we just pray in here for our business, but we were like, we're just going to pray for our state right now, because there's so much happening as a small business. There's a lot of crap happening, and it's not cool. And so we were both, like, praying, and all of a sudden I'm like, God, I just feel like you're not doing anything. It doesn't matter what I pray. We're still being required to do this and that. And then Shantell started praying, and she was like, yeah, I'm so frustrated. And then we were both sobbing, and then she just like, ugh. And then I, like, watched us both just like, ugh. And so we did a couple of things. We just laid down on the, and we pressed the sandbag, and we tossed it up, and then it was like, oh gosh, knowing that the Father's not afraid of any of that.
Yeah. Well, there's something about having permission to feel, because a lot of times we don't like you were saying, we just don't feel like we have the permission to feel, or we have a construct of what it looks like to be the healthy Christian person, or walking in love and kindness and all the fruit of the
peace,
fruit of the spirit, you know, which yes and. But
you can't have those without actually engaging with the true gamut of all of emotion. Right? Like, we just want to take these ones and we're like, only these. And you're like, but you'll never know these if you actually don't deal with these. Right? Because if you don't deal with these, then you're on anxiety medication and depression medication, and your body hurts and you feel terrible because you're just pretending all the time that everything's fine and that you feel nothing. But you're like, we don't see and we don't pay attention to sometimes all the things that Jesus felt. Like, he didn't only feel these. Like, he was in the garden sweating blood from his face. I bet he didn't go over to his buddies and was like, sorry, hey, could you wake up and pray? He was sweating blood from his face. We want to be like, I'm so stressed out. Everything is so bad. And you're like, yeah, but he knew this. Right? He flipped over tables and he took whips into the temple. He did. But we just see him as this like cute thing that never felt anything. But if you look in the word, like, as to all of the emotions that he felt, it was all of the emotions that he felt. He felt them all. And then we think, once we step into the kingdom, that these are the only ones that we're allowed to feel. But then we're wondering why we're not feeling those. And then most people want nothing to do with our Jesus because we won't acknowledge these ones. So we don't have these ones. And so everybody's like, you're judgy and fake and you're always fine and you're always wonderful. And that's actually not real.
Well, and that creates a very unsafe environment. Like, I'm repelled by people that we can tell, you know, when it's just a facade or a veneer or, but who are we attracted to? Are those that are real, like maybe a little scary, intimidating, but it's like, I'm drawn to you because I will feel safe to also express my emotion.
So my college application, so you and I were just talking about, you know, is it passion? Is it intensity? And again, having, like, if I don't function in my passion, then what is my voice doing, right? My voice is being fake. And so, like, I used to hear all the time, oh my gosh, you're so intense. And that word, like, literally would trigger me all the time. And, but then it was the realization of, like, my mom had me write one word that describes you to get into college. And she's like, oh, it needs to be intense. And I was like, oh, I do not want to write. I don't want to write about that. You know? But then there was this place where it was actually with Sarah Lee, like 10 years ago maybe, at just a little retreat that we did. And where the Lord started showing me all of these dichotomies that I felt like were dichotomies, but they were actually like both sides of who I am, right? Like fire and love. And so being able to be intense and passionate, but knowing if I'm not intense and I'm not passionate, and every time I get passionate about something, oh, you're getting triggered. Well, maybe I'm not. Maybe it's like something inside of me that I actually, like, I watched a movie the other day called I Care a Lot. It's on Netflix. And it's like old people, like when you're talking about like kids and stuff, old people are like, that is something to me where, like, if there is an old person sitting alone, I might ask them to come and sit with me. And I used to take care of my grandma and I would clip her toenails and I just am very passionate. And this movie was about this woman that was a ward of the state that was just taking advantage of all of these old people. And I like literally could not, like, I was like thinking about, like, maybe I need to quit my job at the gym and I need to go and make a difference in this area.
And I'm like, whoa. We need to maybe stop. We need to maybe stop watching this because your passion and heart right now is going to affect my future. Maybe we'll just stop. It's fiction. Hopefully we'll just don't Google it.
But I couldn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned the whole night, and it could be like, oh, you got triggered again. You're like, okay, maybe. Or maybe these things in us like have to wake up, but we have to feel the indignation and we have to be angry about the fact that this happened and getting like pissed and raging on somebody is different than engaging with like true anger. Like a posture of true anger is like connected, and you can put words to it and you can engage with it. It's not just like when we say a fight state of the nervous system, it's not like a freak out. It's like an actual engagement with true emotion. But we don't have that here. It's like, oh man, if I scream in my house, is my neighbor going to call the cops? Or, like, okay, I want to learn how to find my voice, but where can I find my voice? Like, oh, I need to drive up into the mountains and just scream and, hit my steering wheel, or take a pillow to my bed and be able to actually like express it, and knowing that it's not half. It's just a lot of the issue in the world is that we just medicate so many issues instead of engaging with them, right? Anxiety is this bad thing. No, it's just energy that needs to be spent, and it's not being spent on the thing that needs to be spent on. So then it's just staying inside, and then all of a sudden you can't handle it anymore, and then you're frozen and depressed, and you don't know what to do because you're now depressed and you need to be on medication, which then tells you, like, doesn't make you feel like better, it makes you feel less bad. And then we're still on this pendulum swing between flight and freeze and anxiety and depression and don't know why we can't get out. But I'm like, come on in here and let me just help you find your voice and your body, and let you move, and you will find a fight, which then you will find your voice. Then you'll realize what it is that you needed to grieve and find, and all the thoughts that needed to get in order while you were depressed, or all the things that you're running away from. Let's move into them. And just being able to help people like move into things instead of constantly moving away.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's like a lot of people say, well, that happened in the past. It's in the past, in the past, in the past. But what they don't realize is that your past is never in your past. If it's not processed and dealt with, it remains your present.
Exactly.
So this is my present. My past remains my present. It remains affecting me negatively in my present, because it's not truly in the past until it's processed, until it's released, until it's dealt with, until it's acknowledged. I think a lot of people are, they're angry because whatever it is that happened never was acknowledged. Like there are parts of them that never had validation. Like, hey, that was unjust, that was wrong, that should never have happened. And that's a reason for you to have some negative emotions here, Exactly. And it's not meant to. Like, what I don't want to happen is for people to say, oh, they're listening to the podcast. Oh, well, I have reason to be just angry. No, it's about a targeted, healthy way to release the trapped, whatever it is that's got you feeling what you're feeling, so that you don't continue to feel it as you move forward. That's the point, is to get healing from that, release it, acknowledge it, care for yourself, let yourself heal so that it's not in your present affecting you.
And
every
we
day.
teach about how to return from big emotions, and even getting away from because I constantly call them negative, but they're not negative, they're just emotion. But
unpleasant emotions.
We classify like fear, shame, anger, rage, grief, all sadness as negative
or bad.
Or bad, and the positive ones are joy and love and peace and all of that. And we do actually teach for our brain not staying in that state. So I'm, talking about being triggered. It's like, I'm not even going to call it that. I get angry because I'm seeing injustice. I don't stay there for 4 days. I don't act out and treat people poorly. I feel it, and then I know how to move through it. But it's not even necessarily tapping into, for me, into unprocessed pain. And I know these are two different things, because often it is. But I'm not necessarily tapping into unprocessed pain. I'm just angry about what I'm seeing right now. And we should be.
Well, and I'm wondering if the church in general needs permission to be angry about what's going on right now, because it's not right. And I think that because we're so conditioned to not rock the boat, that we're allowing a lot of what's happening to continue happening.
We are.
Because I don't know if you guys have seen that picture of, it's a table, and it's resting on the backs of a bunch of people that are bent over. And so there's this game being played by all these powerful people on top, but the game's over if the people under the table stand up. And we're not really standing up. I mean, maybe in little pockets, and there's probably a fair bit of us that are upset with all of this that's going on, but nobody's actually doing something.
Well, I think part of the reason for anger is I feel helpless. I feel helpless to do anything. Looking at all this, all the gender stuff now, you can be whoever you want to be, and it's completely going away from the God's original design. Even whether you're a Christian or not, it's just like God made us unique, and so it's tragic what's happening, and then taking away the voice of children to say. Just something I saw yesterday was this. I don't know if it's attorney, a transgender attorney. And I'm just going to say it. Let's be real, people. This is what's going on. And they were saying, I want to force children to take puberty blockers until they have decided what gender they are.
I've heard that.
And that should piss us off.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Because if that would you want your children, you have children in your Christian home and you're homeschooling them and you're forced to give them puberty blockers or you can't buy groceries or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how extreme it's going to get. But when are we going to get angry enough to actually do something? If our anger can actually turn into action, cause our anger, not just sit in my anger. And so for me personally, I look around, I'm like, I feel helpless. This is part of the reason I'm angry, is that I feel helpless to do anything. Maybe I can talk to that person, but then we know that people who are stuck in their fear center, they're not even going to hear me anyway. So how do we come to this even playing field? I have to, though, also learn, and I do, and I know how to do it, not to stay in that angry place because it's not healthy for my adrenals and my nervous system, all that, and rub my vagus nerve and do some deep breathing. I teach this stuff of how to return to joy after these big emotions, so I understand. But where do we find then the balance of actually taking action in that passion? And yes, intense. I've been called that. I've done Arthur Burke, blessing intensity, so that I feel validated in my intensity. God made you intense. I should send that to you. It's like, yes, it's part of my design. He's intense. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I need some more punching bags for that. But like, how do we express ourselves in healthy ways, helpful ways, and being okay with those passionate, big emotions?
And sometimes it's not even like, I know we're talking about baseball bats and stuff like that, but sometimes it's pushing a sled or carrying a sandbag, and it's the ability, because what's happened is that we have lost a biblical worldview about our body. We are functioning on two different levels of a house. We've got, what I think and what I believe here, and then we have our bodies here, right? It's like a Francis Schaeffer analogy of being able to, not function in a Gnostic worldview, right? And so I read this book a couple months back by Nancy Piercy, and it's called Love Thy Body. And it's basically addressing every cultural issue right now that has to do with the body, whether it's euthanasia, transgender, homosexuality, abortion, sex culture, all of that. But really, ultimately, what has happened is we have lost the lens of a biblical worldview about our bodies. Because if we had a worldview about our bodies, we would understand that we're not actually powerless. Right? We have a body that works well, but guess what? We are in a culture where people are not taking care of their bodies. Right? We go to the altar week after week and we ask for prayer, but we're still eating McDonald's and Pepsi and wondering why our bodies are still hurting. Right? Or asking God for healing all the time, but we're never doing anything to take care of our bodies. Right? But then we take certain verses like die to your flesh out of context, and then we just die to our flesh, and then we just kill it, and we wonder why we're still sick. Right? Because we're just constantly, we're not engaging with our body as an actual tool or knowing that it's powerful. We're not taking care of it. We don't steward it. We don't move it. We don't like to do anything hard with it because that makes us uncomfortable and we don't like it. We don't like to feel weak. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to carry that. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to do the hard things with my body. But if you're not doing the hard things with your body, you're missing out. Because if you're not, it's not your heart and your mind that's going to figure everything out. Right? If you can't engage with your breath, you're missing the connection between your mind and your body. And so being able to use that to be strong and to be aggressive and to process big emotion without like going back and just trying to get back from it, but actually using it on something, integrating it in something, whether it's a walk, whether it's a run, whether it's a stretch session, whether it's a heavy deadlift, whether it's a sandbag carry, whether it's throwing something over your head, like whatever it is. But we've lost the lens of having a biblical worldview about our bodies. And it's something else over here, and my spirituality is here.
You said even too, just like the responsibility, but just knowing that we can actually, not necessarily knowing that we can do something about it, but I feel like when you and I first started working together, it was a lot. It was never about, there was the intensity that we have, that we carry now, and just the potency when people come in and they do a class or a program. It was never that dense.
Yeah,
it was never that dense. It started with a lot of it with food, because we were working with women and they were, okay, I'm overweight and I can't stop eating crap. So help me. What is this? And so we were like, okay, this must be a relationship with food, a relationship with working out, right? And then slowly, as it was revealed, looking at, okay, habits, like, okay, what do your habits look like at the gym? What do your habits look like with food? But then looking at what you want to change, like I'm overeating. Okay, so where does that start? And working our way backwards, even in this brilliant cycle that Lou designed with working with somebody one-on-one. And it was really like, what are the expectations of myself and then also of life? And then when those expectations aren't met, what happens? And so as it slowly started to progress, it looked like a lot of things. It looked like, I was supposed to be married forever, and I am not. Now I'm divorced, and I was supposed to have kids by now, but I don't. And so something else happened, right? Something else happened. And in that something else happened, I have a choice. I can either choose not to feel the disappointment, the sadness, or the anger, and go into a cycle of shame, humiliation, and then go to something that helps me cope with that not happening, which looks like, it looks like food, it looks like sugar, it looks like pornography, it looks like all kinds of shopping, it looks like going to the gym. It can look positive. Yeah. It can look like going to the gym and working out. It can look like
going to church, praying, worshiping.
Yeah, it can look like cleaning the house. It can look like these things that look positive, but yet they're actually moving you away from feeling right after that something else happened, feeling it. And so then once that started to develop and we started to realize, like, okay, there's pain and there's things being held in the body. So shoulders are hurting, backs are hurting. What's going on? And then we started hitting things, and then ladies' pain was going away. They were hitting, getting angry, bawling on the ground for hours. And then they go home, they're more patient with their children, the pain is gone, they see their husband differently, they see Jesus differently, they see the world differently. Where I'm not talking it just doesn't happen, right? Because there's things then every day, like you going to the grocery store, something happens that makes you angry, upsets you, and that expression rather than holding on to it, right? And so it slowly started to develop where we're like, oh my gosh, this is what this is. This is the questions that we have about ourselves and about our body. A lot of the times, if we work our way backward, it will lead us to, okay, what happened that disappointed me, that made me angry, that made me sad, that I didn't express, or why am I so angry all the time? Well, those things are building up and building up. It's not about the lady at the store that told you that you couldn't return the hat. It's about the fact that the reason why you can't return the hat is because of something that that you find unfair, ridiculous. That is what you want to change, right? And so it goes through where when we really look at our behavior day to day, it can tell us a lot about where we are. And so we started doing that, and then all of a sudden, we have days like Shift, and we have things like obviously Camp 17. And
well, I want to have you talk about what you do, because obviously we've got a lot of listeners on our podcast, and I would love to just bring them up to speed on what you do, and if they want to travel here for one of the things that you do. We are in Medford, Oregon. I know we'll mention that when we do our intro to this separately, but this Shift and Camp 17, tell us what are those, and what's the vision of that, and kind of give us a little bit of a taste of what you guys do with that, because I know we've been blown away at the whole concept and the results that you've seen through this. So I'd love to share that.
Yeah. So we have a couple different things. We have a gym, a fully functioning running gym,
which is where we are.
We are, drop gym.
Yeah.
Inside of this gym, we have a couple different programs. We have a program called Shift, but then Shift came out of a 4-week program called Camp 17, which we run here for ladies who are local. But then we also do a condensed version of Camp 17 called 24/7, which is 7 days with us, 40 hours of all the goodness that is Camp 17. That would be hours and hours.
We actually don't ever get through all the things, but we try.
We try to.
We actually have our next one coming up in June. So June 12th through the 18th is when we'll do our next one. And but we only have spots for 12, so we keep it really small, super intimate. And then Camp 17 involves a shift, and 24/7 involves a shift. And shift was a brilliant idea from Shantell, of just helping women find their voices and be expressive. And then I fell asleep. A lot of times we'll come into the gym and be like, so I had a dream last night, and this is what you guys did. And they're like, oh, no.
No.
Because there's been a lot of moments of dreams. Like a lot of some like really big things started happening. Like right around shift, Nisha walked into my dream and she looked at me and she's like, Lou, what would happen if we all just broke open? And I was like, oh boy. And then we're like, well, that's basically what shift is just an opportunity to break open, right? And so I fell asleep. She did this hour-long session that was so incredible and so amazing. And we were like, oh my gosh, this needs to be like a whole day.
With breath and acknowledging things that we were believing about ourselves that weren't true.
Yeah. It wasn't just like 8 hours.
It was breath work, connecting to our bodies,
forgiving
looking
our
at
bodies,
our relationship that we have with not just our body as a whole, but all of our bits and pieces, right? All of them, from your nose to your eyes, from your curly hair to your straight hair, to your crooked teeth, to your
boobs and your
lopsided
butts
breasts,
and,
your flat butt, your the things that we say, like the skin that sags on my elbows, or that my pinky is shorter than the other fingers, the things that we find when we're kids, or that we've been told by
flaws. We perceive them as flaws.
Yes.
Or imperfections.
Yeah. And so looking at that, and even sitting, laying, addressing, making contact with, touching, and actually saying like, okay, my nose, like you spoke of your profile before. When I was a kid, I would sit with my hand like this so people couldn't see how big my nose was from the side. I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed. And now I'm just like, man, I would not be me without my nose. Like if I had a different nose, I would not be me. I would look completely different. And I don't want that. I want to be fully me. And so looking at how can we reintroduce ladies to their body and look at it and be grateful and thankful that it's working, or the things that aren't working, can we address those and just say, I'm going to be a little bit more patient with you. I'm going to be more kind with you. The stretch marks and the saggy skin. I've birthed 4 children. That's amazing. That's incredible. So looking at that, but most women don't look at it that way. They see it as all the flaws. And so reconnecting, seeing your body, looking at it differently, feeling differently about it, changes a lot of things. Especially for women,
I would think that would make a lot of people feel very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
I'm thinking some people listening might be going, I don't think I could handle going to that shift thing.
Totally.
That's why normally we don't tell people.
Yeah.
We say
you don't tell them what's going to happen.
And most like your friends probably really won't tell you what's going to happen there either, because they're just going to tell you need to go, and then you'll experience it for yourself, and you'll either move into it, or you will put up walls and you'll miss it, and some people do. Yeah. And so we've started to, our very first shift was just at the gym. And then one of the pastor's wife at the church that we go to, she wanted to participate in the shift. So she did shift, and now we do shift at church. Like we go in with all of our stuff, and our little church ladies go through shift. And then we've had some like private group. There was a group from Changed at Bethel, that big group of women came in, and we did a private event there, and just helping reconnect the church to their bodies, right? Like, I mean, it's so important, and it's not complicated, but sometimes it feels just so complicated that we don't really know where to start, or know how to do it, or know what to do. And so we've just created different opportunities. Shift used to be, and it was like an hour thing, and now it's like, oh well, we need actually a full day and then the night before. And so it's, extended itself to where we could make it, and, shift could be an entire week process for all that we do. But we have a joke because afterwards we'll tell ladies that they're going to feel shift-faced. Because you kind of feel like a little bit hungover.
And a shirt that says that.
Yeah, we were going to make a shirt that says that. One time I got shift-faced at church.
Oh, yes! I'll buy it.
Yeah. So it's become a really... shift probably is one of the coolest things that we do. It's one of the most powerful things. It's just short. I mean, the last one that we did, we had a girl fly from Atlanta to come and do it. It was just very humbling. Like, you flew all the... She's like, yes, I flew in yesterday and I'm flying out tomorrow.
But people are hungry. And I think that this is like a... we Kathy and I do the heart work, as in, inner person stuff. But we have to look at it holistically. It's like and I think... like what you were saying, Lou, we've not addressed. Well, we have we actually interviewed Benny Johnson, of Bethel Redding, and so she's been really harping on that too. Like the church has not brought the body along, and she does preaches, teaches healthy eating, exercise, all that, and she's in her 60s and she's incredibly fit, and so she's really modeling what this could look like, and so I've appreciated her for pioneering that. So there are voices, but for the most part, you're probably in the minority of speaking out like, yeah, I actually need to take good care of myself. I like what she says. It's like God created it, Jesus died for it, the Holy Spirit lives in it. I need to take care of this thing.
Yeah, that's good. I love that.
But it's like, this is a more holistic approach. So we do the heart work, and they come to you guys then and do this, because I can't teach. I need this myself. I'm like, I can't wait for shift. Like, can you please can I do it next week, tomorrow, tonight, please?
You know what's interesting?
May 14th and 15th.
Yeah.
Yes. What's interesting is that what you had just said, which is what we come across often, and this is kind of where the love comes in, where we talk about love. It's not a matter of like love or tough love. It's just love. It's not like, okay, this is tough love. It's just love. It is love. And so when people are afraid of certain things, even the things that we do, we know that it's unconventional. We know that it's different. We know that it's foreign. But people talk, they complain about their pain, they complain about their aches, they complain about how they can't sleep at night. They're taking medication to help them sleep. They are fueled by coffee the second they wake up, and all throughout the day. They have migraines. There's things that they complain about. And when I say that, I don't hear it as complaining. I hear it as acknowledging the pain, but then it becomes a complaint when they see something that they can do about it and they choose not to do it. And so, or they choose not, there's not even any wonder in like, I wonder if I did that, if I participated fully in that something would change.
Yeah.
And as women, and even as humans, like, we have to make up our mind, because we'll live complaining about these things, and yet when some opportunity comes up that looks a little different, a little scary, but yet safe, it challenges us, we'll still choose not to do it.
Yeah.
Right? We'll say like, nah, I don't want to do that. But it's like, okay, but you have an opportunity to do something that you've seen promise in, you've seen change in through other people and their testimony, and yet it scares you, so you're choosing not to do it. Yeah. And so if that is you, if you're listening to this and you hear that, like, listen to that, not necessarily listen to the fear, but acknowledge it and say like, whoa, I'm afraid of, why am I afraid of this? Because it's different. But do I have these things? Do I wonder, gosh, because we want passive ways to get rid of things, right?
That's so true.
We want the pill.
We don't like to be uncomfortable.
No, we think that putting on a mask and standing 6 feet away from somebody is going to make a virus go away. Like, it's going to find you wherever it's going to find you, because it's a virus, right? But for me to take responsibility for myself eating well, so I don't get pissed at you because you don't have a mask on, because I'm actually not taking care of myself, right? Like, well, why don't you take all that food out of your cart, because you doing that is putting you at risk for sickness, and now I have to wear a mask because you're going to get sick, right? Like, it's like, we want to take responsibility for certain things, but we don't want to take responsibility for like the really hard things, like eating well and taking care of our bodies and getting out and getting sunlight and going to bed and sleeping through the night and like all of those things, we want to just say like, well, you need to wear your mask and you need to get vaccinated for me. Like this is I am doing this for you. Like, sorry, when in 2020 did we decide that people actually care about people, right? Like, we abort babies and we put old people in homes and we yell at the person that, you know, doesn't make our food right or cuts us off in traffic, and we all of a sudden want to pretend like everybody cares about people, and you're like, we don't act like that.
we put old people in nursing homes.
We don't act like we haven't been acting like we care about. We don't even know what our neighbors' names are, but now all of a sudden I'm wearing my mask for you. Like, no, you're not.
It's so true, Lou.
Sorry, guys, you can totally edit that out, but it is very frustrating because I'm like, well, I would like for you to take your Cheetos and your Pepsi out of your cart. Because you eating Cheetos and Pepsi actually is giving you a higher chance of getting COVID, not me, because I take care of myself. Like, I sleep through the night. I get out in the sunlight. I make sure that I exercise. I make sure that I eat well. I take care of my immune system, so I actually don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But I can't even put a mask on and not worry about you if you don't take care of yourself, because you're going to get it anyways. Right? You don't have what it takes. Like, our neighbors came over and hung out at our house for like 3 days in a row. They were in the sauna and they were hanging out and doing all the things, and they had COVID. Yeah, we didn't get it because we actually just take care of ourselves, and we didn't get sick. Not that they don't take care of themselves, but they got it, and was like, they were like, oh, sorry, girls, just to let you know, we totally had COVID, and you're like, oh well, I didn't. I didn't get sick. Yeah, who knows? Right? Well, neither one of them can taste or smell a thing, so for a bit. But who knows? That's what happens when you get a cold too. So who knows? But anyways, it was just one of those things. It's just one of those things where we just have to come back to the responsibility and the stewardship to take care of ourselves. We're in the church. You're really, I mean, kind of really good at taking care of yourself spiritually.
Maybe,
yeah,
right.
Or at
it's
least
still,
the appearance.
Or we appear, right? I go
Yeah.
to church, I pray, I read my Bible, I do worship, I do all those things. But we actually forget that our bodies are the only thing that is going to take the gospel anywhere.
And it requires our participation. It's like it requires your investment. It requires that. It's just like coming to the gym, just like showing up here and going through the motions in a class is not going to change a whole lot, right? It's like just showing up at church and sitting. Most people say like, just show up. Just show up. And I'm like, gosh, we've been doing how well is that? How's that doing? I mean, how's that working for you? Like, how is just showing up working for you? Just showing up. And we need to learn how to be connected. We need to learn how to be present, because when we just show up and hope that something happens to us or for us, it's very passive. But most don't know how to be present, especially in their own body. We're very disconnected from it. And so when that happens, that's scary. And so even part of what we do here in the gym is when we take breath and we take movement and intentional connection, it doesn't look like, all right, show up, go run, come in, do this, do that. It looks like, let's take a second and let's actually feel our body. Let's feel the muscles. Let's listen to our breath. Let's breathe intentionally. That is scary. It's scary because it's connection with yourself.
And being intentional is being in tension, and we don't love to be in tension. Like we don't like it, so we move away from it.
No, we don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, we don't want to be uncomfortable, and most don't know how. And that's slightly offensive if you think about it, because we've been with this body. I've been with this body for 36 years, and I come into a space and you tell me that I'm not connected to my body. Like, I've been with this for 36 years. How can I not be? And so through even my journey in becoming more connected to my body, it was very emotional for me, because a lot of it was challenging what I knew or what I thought I knew or what I was supposed to know or what I was supposed to feel. And it brought me back to moments where I did disconnect. And so there was a lot of things, like memories that flashed back, and a lot of our women go through that. But it's now you're more whole, more able, more capable, more productive when you're present and when you're connected.
And you're more connected to yourself. You're like functioning in your identity, right? You're more connected as a man to your masculinity. You're more connected to a woman and your femininity when we actually can be inside of our bodies and be connected inside of our bodies and be okay with being inside of our bodies without punishing ourselves, because we don't know how to, we live in a culture of just external feedback, right? Like, what did my watch tell me that I did? I don't know. Did you have a good workout? Well, I don't know. Hold on, let me check. And you're like, but did you have a good workout? Did you work hard? And you're like, I don't know. Hold on, let me check my heart rate. What were my splat points on the board? Right? Like, we don't know, right? Because we can't, I couldn't even tell you how it was.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And so, but we're not for everyone. Not everybody wants to come into our gym, because some people do not want to be connected. They don't want to be connected. They don't want to be accountable for what's happening. They don't want to know. And so we've had women, they come in and they're like, sorry, I want to go over to this other place and just go through the motions, which it's totally fine. Like, we're not going to be, for everyone, because we're going to go completely against, we are trying to swim upstream in the culture of fitness right now. We really are, which is okay. It's just, we're going to go against most of the things. Like, I'm not going to put you on macros, especially if you're super anxious, because guess what? It's just going to make you more anxious, and it's just going to make you more stressed out. And you're just going to try to perform and just meet a number. You're not actually going to connect. You have no idea. I don't know. Did you eat well today? You're like, I'm not really sure. Let me check my macros. Like, wait, but did you? You know what I mean? And so, no bashing on macros. I just we want people to be able to connect with themselves and to know, how did I eat today? How did I sleep last night? I don't know. Hold on, let me check my Whoop. Well, my Whoop says I had a Whoop because I wanted to see how well I was sleeping. And then the nights I'd be like, I had such a great sleep. It'd be like, you slept terribly. I'm like, oh no. So then I started getting anxiety before I went to bed, because I was letting this external
a digital thing tell you instead of your own body tell you.
Instead of me be able to know. And that gets really dangerous. Right?
And it's also like even in trusting yourself to eat well, trusting yourself that you're going to work hard without the numbers, trusting yourself that you are going to be excellent in what you're doing, and meaning that you are going to do what you are capable of that day, and that's going to be different every day. Because the days that you slept great, you're going to be, and ate well the day before, and you ate something before you came to the gym, you're going to feel great. You're going to be able to push a little bit harder, versus the next day you didn't sleep at all last night. You had a birthday party, so you ate some cake and you drank some wine, and then you did, like, right? And so, but we expect ourselves to perform the same every day, no matter what, and we're extremely hard on ourselves. And so, but having, even what Lou's even talking about with the macros, it's a lot of dieting is, like, I don't trust myself to eat well. I really don't trust myself if I were to eat a piece of cake in celebration, I'm going to eat that cake and I'm just going to go ham, and I'm going to eat another one and drink 4 glasses of wine, and right, and then the next day it's going to turn into, well, I did this yesterday, so now I'm just going to eat a hamburger today and then pizza, and then
get a cycle,
and get the coffee with all the syrups in it, and so we do that to ourselves because we're actually almost looking for permission to just make bad choices, and so once we give ourselves that permission, then it just goes, when really, can we enjoy ourselves that night? And then the next day, go right back. Not because now you just fell off the wagon and now you're back on the wagon. Right. No, it's just being present in a moment with people and tasting your food, tasting your drink, enjoying the company. But most of the time, it's because we're not present and we don't trust ourselves to make good decisions for our best. And we really struggle with that. But that comes from, a lot of it is connecting with the body. And we just don't know how to do that. But we have developed ways to do that, which have been incredible.
Well, that's a lot of, it is. It's a lot of changing program, like wiring, neural and mental programming and programming and pathways. And so that's not, what you're saying is like, this is awesome, but also saying this is not just going to happen overnight with one decision. But at the same time, even we could unpack so many things that you've dropped here today on the table. We could unpack for days, but even the trusting yourself thing, that in and of itself is so huge. I know for me, maybe I'm the only person.
No,
but it's like,
Probably
do I trust myself for making the best decision, whatever best means, and then we can even unpack what's good, bad, what's best. Is this a good or a bad decision, or was it just a decision?
Yes.
I mean, and
gosh,
so
I've been talking about that so much lately. Like just good and bad, where we just think good and bad. No, we're just
judging that.
Yeah, you just turned right instead of left. It was just a choice.
Yeah.
It was a choice that you made. And so then you've got another choice. Whether you turned right or you turned left, you have another choice.
Yeah.
Then is it right or is it left? Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah.
It's like when people talk about their body too, my good shoulder, my bad shoulder. No, it's not a good shoulder and a bad shoulder. You have an injury. It's not bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Even the way we talk
Yeah,
about our
the words
bodies,
we
the way that
use.
we're saying this is a bad, this is the bad part of me, or
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I think we're probably going to have to do another conversation.
we are. This is just part one.
Yeah,
like 15
yes,
parts.
and we probably do need to wrap it up for now. I know we're all kind of hungry, which taking paying attention to our bodies, and but yeah, this is really good. Really love what you guys are doing and the angle that you're taking, and you're really following. Like you're not following anything. You're plowing a new ground, and you're really setting a new pace. And I think it's amazing, and I'm excited to be. I want to be part of Shift too. I think we're both coming to that.
Yeah.
It's already in my calendar.
Yeah, to be
So
part
don't
of
fill
it.
up. I'm putting my name in now. Don't let anyone take that spot.
Keep praying.
Because I'm
Keep
going to get
it.
really angry if
If
someone...
you prayers, just pray. We need a bigger space, and then we can do more stuff with shit.
So
Prayers.
we can just listen. If Jesus told us we do greater things. So I'm going to believe with you and speak out that you're going to have a bigger space for. How many people do you want?
All the things. I don't know.
100?
Oh, that'd be a lot of people. For
50?
50 is good. 50 is a
All
good
right.
number. We've done a few shifts with 50, and it's pretty
50
amazing.
people. This is going to come out on podcast. They're going to be like, how do I sign up?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I talked to Allison today. She's like, they better have space. I can bring at least 10.
We might just have to throw another one in there. I don't really know. But no, you can find us on Instagram at drop.gym. You can find our website at dropgym.com.
Where'd the name come from?
Oh boy, we had this was right before COVID. Real quick story. Right before COVID, so we used to be 2 doors down in that gym. So I used to own that gym there. We started Camp 17 in there, and we never wanted to have a gym. Every 6 months, we'd pray about the business, like really, really, like okay, where are we going?
We both would like pray and then open one eye. And
You
look
didn't
at the
hear
other
anything
one,
about
like,
a gym,
hear
right?
anything?
No,
Like,
I didn't
hoping that
either.
the other one didn't hear it. We were like, please say.
We don't need a
please,
building.
Jesus.
You don't need a building, right? No, we're not going to do it. No, I don't want another gym. And I was like, I don't want another gym either. I don't want to do this. And then one of our ladies had a dream that we had a gym. And then the next day, one of the ladies was like, my kid's Taekwondo studio is going out of business. And it was this one. So anyways, we moved in here. And it was so fast that we didn't have a name. It was just, we just named the space Camp 17. But Camp 17 was our 4-week program, so that was very confusing. And we just didn't want to talk about our business because it was so confusing. You'd be like, well, we have this 4-week thing, but then you have to like go through the 4-week thing to then join the gym, but then we have gym, and you'd be like, never mind. And so you just stopped talking. And so we had 2 girls go through camp who are just amazing women, branding, marketing, wordsmiths, all the things. And they had started talking, and they were like, girls, we need to rebrand. We had talked about rebranding and things like that. And so it was about a 6-month process. And one of their husbands, we obviously went through this really long process of rebranding. And he was like, what about Drop Gym? And because we were talking about the things that you leave here. And we were talking about the ripple effect when when there's a drop of water in and it ripples. So when you come into the gym, it affects every area of your life. But then you come in here and you get to drop things. And so that's where Drop Gym came from. And that's so awesome. We named the space. We put the guy next door does sticker stuff, and he put all the things on the building the day that our governor shut us down. And I was like, what if we never get to open again? That was like the first time. And then on the second round through, we just said, screw it, we're not closing. And so we stayed open. But it was a really interesting like shifting of seasons when it was like we shut down for 9 weeks, but we had just marked the doors.
Yeah.
So it was it was pretty like we had just told all of our ladies.
Yeah.
So and then you've got the 3 drops for the mind, the body, and the spirit. Like you've got all your 3 parts and all your things, So
good.
Yeah, so that's where it came from.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, you guys, for your time today.
And
thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming in. And
really, we're hoping we're going to land in the vicinity, and would love to just build a relationship with you guys and be part of what's going on.
I've already looked at the monthly membership, unlimited classes. I'm like, I'm there. I'm like, Lord, how quickly can this happen?
Yes.
So, now we're going to do a demonstration with the camera. Just kidding. You'll just have to come. You'll just have to come do a class.
But thank you guys.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with your friends.
And please stay tuned for more great content coming your way.